Thank you very much, Johnny. It is my genuine pleasure to present to you a personal friend of mine, Larry Payne. We've met through LinkedIn a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we've been exchanging through our common passion for music and listening to music together and analyzing tracks and so on. We have so much pleasure. As Johnny commented so relevantly, the More Than Bilingual live series is not just for people who speak two or several languages. It's for people who are actively involved in language professions. And language professions, there are more than two. It's more than translation or interpreting. It's editing, copywriting, journalism, ghostwriting, subtitling, sign language, and so on. There are so many professions. And Larry is at the heart of the language professions, and what he does is at the heart of what we advocate for on LinkedIn. To pick up where Johnny left off, yes, indeed, Larry is an award-winning editor, copywriting, and journalist. He's worked for decades on technical documentation and communications across a range of industries, going from automotive manufacturing to medical diagnostics, robotics to cultural history, which I particularly like. And his work has shaped narratives for some of the world's most progressive companies, including Toshiba America, JBL Professional, and Harris Corporation. Larry is also a seasoned musician and critic, and I've been fortunate enough to appreciate his music because I've tuned in to his YouTube channel, Deep Space Theater, that I enjoy very, very much. If you follow Larry on Deep Space Theater on YouTube, you'll be able to get a taste of his original own compositions. As a musician, he studied under Latin guitar virtuoso Jorge Struns, and thus he brings a unique creative dimension to the language services conversation and the language services industry. He's contributed to major publications like Guitar Player, a very famous magazine to which I used to subscribe. Also, yes, I did. I read it for years and
years. We did.
We did indeed.
We subscribed for years, yeah.
Years and years, and I savored every issue. You've contributed to major publications like that one, and also How Design Journal, and of course, you're still present on YouTube channel in the music business. Your comprehensive editorial skills and deep understanding of cultural localization make you the perfect voice to discuss the art of copywriting, of building authority, and I particularly like this, the irreplaceable value of bespoke human expertise in our AI-driven world. I'm going to quote you before getting on to my first question. You say, writing is automatic, just as musical thinking is. Editing involves a mental catalog of errors and conventions, all of which is governed by music. I like the way your brain works. My first question is this: what drew you to the language professions in the first place, and how did you get there?
Well, thanks, Patrice. It's wonderful to be able to talk to you. First of all, I'll say that we've been friends for quite a while now on LinkedIn, and we have had some great conversations, and I admire you tremendously. So I want to say that. Without making the story book length, I had become a professional writer, a contributing journalist in my very early 20s. Some college professors had said, "You're crazy if you don't write for a living. Do you know why your papers don't come back to you along with the other students' work? It's because we keep them for distribution to other classes. So get out there and write." So I did. And I wrote a lot right away. I was fortunate. And within a year or so, I was the editor of a magazine in Hollywood covering the music business. From there, I jumped into copywriting courtesy of a visiting writer from England who had written a couple of pieces for me. He went to Japan. He invited me to Japan I ended up working for a successful advertising agency there, and I was there for a year. And I loved Japan. My wife and I loved the people, the culture, the food, the noise, the sound of it, the smell of the air, the beautiful skies. It's fabulous. And when I came back, when we came home to California, I met a young woman who had started a translation agency. And she asked me if I would look over a couple of pieces before they were delivered. And it was to a significant client. And so I was working with fax paper, and I was scouring those sheets for corrections. And pretty soon I was working for her every day. And initially I tried gathering a small group of other writers to see if we could just do heaps of work initially, right off the bat. But my client said, just you, please. We trust just you. And that told me something. That's interpersonal, an interpersonal working relationship. It's a process that is eye to eye. And I worked with them for about 30 years, every day. Eventually, I realized that if I had one good client like that, I could have maybe 15. So I went out and got 15. The second client simply answered the phone and said, yes, we're busy. Send us samples by fax. So I did. And a year later, they sent me more than 60,000 words to do that day, unannounced. And so that's the way it has been. It's a process that has taught me that well-wishing your client, hoping for the success of everyone you have contact with in business, through email, through the delivery of a job, anything. It's to be done with in good faith, with goodwill, wishing them a beautiful, successful day. Every other form of promotion I have attempted, however creative it might have been, was nothing in comparison to that goodwill, because goodwill makes them come back. Goodwill means you're making friends, and I work with friends. Every client I have is a friend. And I don't say that with a lack of sincerity. It's what I feel. It's how I conduct my business, and it's what I love about it. The writing and editing are technically challenging, but that alone is not friendship. What exists around it, what encompasses it, is friendly relations.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Right.
Same here. When I work with clients, I choose them on a basis of a number of factors, including the fact that they will, all kinds of professional factors and working conditions and rates and so on, deadlines and the way they manage projects, but also one particular thing that is important to me. I need to work with clients that are agreeable company. That's the people that smile, people that you can hear smiling on the phone, or through the way they write in their emails. And that's very, very important for me. People who sound robotic or impersonal or go too fast, I don't enjoy their company. I don't enjoy working with them. I'd rather not work with them at all. So the friendship you mentioned is very, very important in a business relationship, because working relationships last a number of years. In your case, 30 years with that translation agency. You need to be friends. It's more than just work. I mean, my oldest client I've had for 26 years, and he's a personal friend of mine. And we've gone eating out, having a beer, having coffee, and we still exchange emails sometimes with no relation to business, because we understand each other, we read each other's minds, and when we have to manage complex projects together, it flows very naturally, and that relationship actually serves my friend's client. This particular client of mine owns a translation agency in Montreal, and I started with him 26 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I still collaborate with him from time to time. If I'm overloaded, I share projects with him because he has a greater team, and the natural flowing of work between him and I, and the way we manage projects together helps his clients, and
Yes.
because they benefit from it. So you're absolutely right. Friendship matters in business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just professional, it's more than that. You have to smile, you have to be open. If somebody has a special request, I apologize, something happened at home or in my family, I'm going to need to excuse myself because of this or that. I knew I had a deadline, but unfortunately this happened. Would you mind if I delivered a text later or so on? I had to do this once or twice in 26 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they accepted immediately. Of
Yeah.
course, sure, we'll call our client, or we'll call the colleague, and we'll say the text is not ready yet for major reasons, and please take your time, come back when everything is settled. That's what friends do for each other.
Yes.
Yes, and people understand that. When the personal relationship is established, people understand it.
And
The other
you know that relationship also depends on being the first and the best. Your clients will know in advance that is your objective. Your objective isn't to have an event that takes you away from your work for a day. They know that. They trust that.
Of course, when you've been available and delivering impactful communications for years, and suddenly something happens, of course they understand because they see all the work you've done for them. I've had clients tell me on the phone, you know why we give you work in priority? Because when we phone your office, you always pick up the phone. You don't have an excuse not to be there. Or, oh, I'm sorry, I had to take a walk because I needed a break, so I couldn't answer my phone, and because
Mm-hmm.
this happens.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, so you're our priority. The work goes to you first because you're always there. We can depend on you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so when they're used to depending on you for 6, 8, 10 years, and suddenly something happens and you have to take a leave of absence for 6 hours or whatever, they get it. They know you're not faking it. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
they trust you. You've been delivering for 6, 8, or 12 years. So yes, take six hours, come back, ready to focus again, and we totally get it. There's no problem at all. So
Mm-hmm.
always be professional. I remember this striking example. Another agency from Montreal once told me, do you know why you got this particular project that you're presently working on? No. Why? It's because we had offered it to someone and they were late in their delivery. So 1 hour after delivery time, we phoned them to say, when do you think your translation will be completed? And that particular freelancer replied, oh my God, did I have a translation for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
So that total lack of professionalism,
Mm-hmm.
it will keep your clients away for a very long time. Be
Mm-hmm.
professional, keep an agenda. I was a manager, then an executive in my late 20s before I set myself up as a translator. And all the good habits and the processes and the professional methods that I had acquired during my 20s as an executive,
Mm-hmm.
I kept and transferred to my freelancing business or solo business. So I continued to use the same ethics and serve the clients, my new clients, the same way that I had when I had a 9 to 5 job.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is very, very important. And I know that it's the type of ethics that you value yourself and that you've based your work on to serve your own clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one thing we share. That's why you kept that client for 30 years, for example.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I was, in a way, I was a member of the family, and I knew the family, and they were Japanese and living and working in Southern California. So we had actually quite a lot in common. And it was a relationship I savored, and I always treated it respectfully. But you mentioned being available, being accessible, and it reminds me of something one of my siblings, who's in the entertainment industry, told me. She emphasized being the one who can take the job. Because, I'd say, how do you stay so busy, or why are you so busy all the time? And she said, somewhat sarcastically, because I don't want someone else to have it. So I don't turn it down, and I'm available and I'm reachable. And if the offer is coming in, I or my agency will take it, will grab it. And now, of course, she can pick and choose. She's been doing it a very long time. But the lesson was clear, be available. And thankfully in this age, we can do that. Maybe too much so. I sleep with my phone, in case something comes in. It's not just a watch. What time is it, in the middle of the night? Oh, it's 3:20. No, if a message comes in, I can answer it.
So I'm glad to learn that I'm not the only one who sleeps with their phone.
Right.
Absolutely. I'd like to delve into the parallel you drew in the quote that I gave of you between music and the language professions, because that comparison is dear to me, and I use it as part of my work myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I write, and even when I translate, I sometimes use rhythm to make a sentence more interesting to read, and I use it to keep the attention of the reader, and that helps the client who receives my written text or
Mm-hmm.
my translated text.
Mm-hmm.
And I even go as far as to use parenthetical elements, the way Led Zeppelin drummer John Bonham
Mm-hmm.
used syncopathic rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
I used the same. I move around parenthetical elements inside a sentence in order to create a syncopatic rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes the sentence sound more fun to read. It's more interesting, and I have fun. I derive pleasure from writing that way,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure that readers like it that way, because the goal is never to write something that is boring, because you're not going to get the effect you wanted out of your piece.
In any venue, in any subject area, whether it's legal editing, a lease contract, a patent, which is very specific language, and I've done millions of words in patents. Anything, journalism, music criticism, short stories, audio dramas. You're right. Music and language are inextricably linked, and I'll give you an example. My mother had often told me, because she was one of those people who encouraged me, actively encouraged my writing career. But very early on, she said, never call an editor, because the editor is too busy. But I'm somewhat contrary. And I thought, but if the editor doesn't want to talk to me, the editor won't want to read me. So I called my favorite magazine and presented a story idea to them on the phone. And I sold it, and it worked. And I actually got 2 or 3 others in the process. So I started with that first article, and I had conducted my interview, and I had it transcribed. It was about 35 pages or something of that sort. And I had all the favorite quotes cut out and pasted up on a big poster board. And then I started to write. And I wrote that first sentence. And I wrote that first paragraph, and I had that idea, and I realized something, that I had been thinking a line of music, the words to a song, the first few bits of a melody as I did that. And I continued with that. So I started a second paragraph, and I transcribed, I converted those words to that song into syllables. So I broke them down, and then I applied different words to those syllables with that same rhythm, that same phrasing that the song had. That gave me the same paragraph, but better a second time. Then I did it again. My third paragraph was my beautiful opening to the article I wrote. So I delivered a 22-page manuscript to this magazine. They went, "Oh my God, thank you." Because let me tell you, I delivered it in person, and the editor said, "Let me show you what we typically get." And he produced a legal pad with the title of the article and the author's name and nothing else. And he said, "This person actually expects us to write the article for him. So your article is huge, it's 22 pages, but we appreciate that. It's what we can work with." Years later, I was in Houston I was down there for a week of meetings and appearances with one of my clients. And we were in a big conference area. And after my client's talk, someone approached me, a young woman approached me, and she said, "Yes, I was sent to you with help. I want to know how to write this paper I'm supposed to do, and I'm terrified." And I said, "Well, do you know your subject?" "Yes, I do." "Do you know your topic?" "Yes, I do." "Okay. Do you have a favorite song?" She's, "Yeah, well, yeah, I think I have a favorite song." I said, "Write down the first line of that song. Then mimic those words with syllables. Then create a new sentence. That's your idea. Make a paragraph out of it, 3 or 4 lines, 3 sentences. Do it again. Do it a third time. That is your opening. That is your perfect opening to the paper you're going to write. It's foolproof. Recently, I heard or learned that it is a verifiable process that interconnects music and language. We know that some science says that before there was spoken language, there was a form of telepathy between homonyms. But with the evolution of language through which corresponds to the use of the hands, speech evolved. So speech had to be based on our breath, our breathing, our exertion, our effort. Speech had to accommodate phrasing. Therefore, speech had to accommodate musicality. If we didn't enjoy talking, if we didn't enjoy listening, we would have remained somewhat dependent on body language, essentially telepathy. We'd be in some other way conveying our ideas and needs. So speech is musical. There are people, it is said, who have no affinity for music, but it's simply because they don't recognize it. Some people don't grow up in homes full of music. Some people do. Where on that spectrum are you? And where do you want to be? Do you want more beautiful writing? Do you want more impactful, memorable writing? Listen to music. I was in a music store playing, and somebody, the manager, said, "How did you get like that?" "Get like what?" "How did you learn to play the way you do?" I said, "It's the music I heard." It's the music of the great romanticists, Grieg and Sibelius and Ravel and Debussy. That's what I hear. That's what I try to do, even on something with only 6 strings. And it's the way I'm talking to you now. It all reflects my inherent appreciation for music, my learned appreciation for music. So as a journalist, as a copywriter, as an editor, there is a certain musicality. There's a rhythm, and it shifts, it moves. My son is a very talented writer, and he sat and read an opening to a novel I'm working on. And he said, I like the way you intersperse short sentences with long flowing sentences. And to me, that harkens back to the writing of Nathaniel Hawthorne, whose work is so beautiful. And he would compose these very long paragraphs, but they're structurally perfect. And he did that with a knowledge of punctuation, with a knowledge of structure, the architecture and poetry and musicality of writing, of a story. It's not simply a paragraph. It's not simply a chapter. It's, holistically speaking, the world you create. If it's a brochure, it's a world. You have to pull your reader into it. Even though your reader might have only 10 minutes to read that piece, you have to involve him.
Absolutely. Jose, okay. I like what you, yes, absolutely, Larry. Sorry about the interruption,
No
technical
problem.
interruption.
No problem.
Yes, I know your love for music. I know how it is weaved into the way you write and even the way you speak. That gives your speech this kind of hypnotic effect. If I even wanted to focus on something else, I could not, because the way you speak makes it compelling, and you cannot do anything else but listen to you. And I wanted to thank you for that specific answer, because that was a writing masterclass in itself, and a pretty deep one, insightful and deep one. I remember the tip you, or the method you shared with us about using the transcribing the syllables of the first verse of a song that you like into a first sentence of an article you're about to write. I remember using something similar when I translated songs from French into English for a Quebec French-speaking musician. And what I never thought of is using it to write, and using it, to write for my own clients. And from now on, if I may, I'd like to use your technique. Thank you very much, my friend, to serve my clients better, because I think it's going to be spectacularly efficient. And so thank you. I've enjoyed working for a few musical clients very, very much. As you know, I've proofread and edited album jackets, and I've translated songs, and I've written bilingual content for artists here in Quebec, from their website or other documents. And it is something, it's not work. You get up in the morning, you start serving that client, and you just enjoy the process. It's not like, oh my God, I have to do this drier administrative translation that I'm not really interested in, but they pay well and they're good people, and like I have to do it. But when you do it for artists and musicians, it's a whole different ball game. You feel the connection. What I like to do is I play their music as I write or translate or proofread or whatever, and I stay in the mood. I stay in context, and I never veer off. And I use music when I write and I translate most of the time. My audio system is not far from my office. Otherwise, I do have a Spotify account, but I prefer my recordings and my sound. But it helps me stay focused. I know that there are tons of focus and productivity playlists on Spotify and other platforms, and I do appreciate them. But nothing beats my own recordings, and I like the vibrations from my speakers, and I call it the it's like the musical waves flow through me, and
Yes.
I feel them and they transport me,
Mm-hmm.
and they keep me zoned in. And there is nothing like that intimate relationship with music to write better and edit better or translate better.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, absolutely, indeed. And if you wish to address other topics before I move to the four questions I used at the beginning of the presentation, um, is there anything else you wish to share with viewers today who who will benefit from your experience or other tips, for example,
Mm-hmm.
something that is dear to you?
Yeah, and dear to me is not necessarily how I would characterize it, but I would say it's something of which I'm acutely aware. Um, I'm obviously an American speaker of American English. I do edit in American and British forms, and I've done that for a very long time. But for those who for those to whom English is a second language, um, it's important to recognize that your target audience for any translation will have a certain specific vernacular, not only as per the topic, the subject, legal, uh, uh, engineering, etc. But they will expect to see punctuation a certain way. They will expect to see sentence structures of a conversational that are conversational in the context of native English speaking. In my case, specifically American English. Um, there is there are things we see in English in the media that are problematic. They're confusing to the mind, but they're accepted as regular English. Go to CNN.com and look at any article. Now, it's not to question the veracity of the reporting or the accuracy of the reporting. It is. But sentences or paragraphs will begin with the word but or and. A sentence will begin with, a quotation will begin with and. Sentences will end with prepositional phrases. Paragraphs will begin with prepositional phrases. All that stuff is confusing. Let's think of a paragraph that begins with when I, or in 1932, the reader has to say, what, when is this? When is this? If you place a where right at the start of an idea, the reader is expected to be there instantly. It doesn't work. We're not that quick. The mind is quick, but on its own terms. The mind puts on a certain shoe first, not the other one. And so structure is very important to comprehensible writing. Just because it's English doesn't mean it's not a jumble of words. And so much of my work in service to translation agencies and translators involves detangling, untangling, and opening and understanding not only the subject but the endeavor to make it clear to a target reader. And that's done through logic. Logic is the most important aspect of what I do. It is the objective. in what I do.
Thank you very, very much. That was deeply enlightening, and I made notes for myself. Thank you. In light of your extensive career and outstanding career, because your achievements are as numerous as they are impressive, what would you say was your favorite project over the past year or over the past years, and why would that be?
I've already described my relationship, my long business relationship with my first client.
Right.
Wonderful, very generous, very sweet people. However, I was offered a job editing and revising a large book in the realm of Zen Buddhism. And I told the caller, well, I'm not a Buddhist, first of all. And she said, we know of your work, and you're the one we want doing this. And so I said, okay, how shall we start? And she said, we'd like you to write something to the Zen master and convince him that you're the one to do his book. So I did. And what I did was to say, essentially, you are a very wise, learned, sincere man. Whether you have the same perception of God that I have is, of course, open to question and interpretation. For me, the proof of God is no more evident than in the birth of a child or the blossoming of a flower. And that was it. That got it. And I did 5 books for him and his group. Eventually, he said, I would like you to write a book for me. Okay, it will be my pleasure to do that, Master. What will the subject be? Truth. I would like a book on truth. So I was given a stack of lecture materials, Q&As, transcriptions of group lessons he had given. There was not one mention of truth in that stack of writing. And that was the challenge. So I developed an outline. I had already been working with them for 2 years, maybe 3 years. So I had to rely on what I had learned, what I had absorbed. And I developed an outline and delivered that. And he looked at it, and he looked at it, and he said something in Chinese, which was then translated as, this is my teaching syllabus for the next 15 years. So I wrote the book based on that outline, a book on truth from materials that did not contain any mention of truth. That was fun. That was challenging. But I had to believe in the subject. I had to love the subject. And as I said in a recent conversation we had, Patrice, that my learning in regard to Zen was retroactive. It influenced even my memory all the way through my life. It was so amazing. And I felt that it was enlightening in that way. Do I practice Zen? Not as much as I should. Do I meditate daily? Probably not. I do get deep into thought. I do concentrate and focus when I play music or when I listen to music. But do I seek emptiness? Probably not. I seek calm. Emptiness is a higher understanding.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that has been my favorite project, a series of books for a Zen master. He and his assistants would tell me, when we translate this from Taiwanese or traditional Chinese, into English, it is still different than what we want to say to the native English speaker. Your versions allow us to do that. Zen is inherently nebulous. It's foggy. It's meant to confuse and to break down habitual thinking. But I had to make sense of all that. I had to make sense of that knowledge that was behind this veil of fog, the dust on a mirror, so to speak. And so that was the challenge. And I loved it.
Absolutely. I would have loved it as well. I cannot imagine something more stimulating, more engaging. Must have been an incredible feeling. Now, I know we've touched on this earlier today. Do you have an ideal client profile? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And also, is there an unexpected win, an unexpected success that you particularly appreciated during your career?
An unexpected success, an ideal client. An ideal client is one who pays in a reliable manner. An ideal client is not so wedded to a system, Protomos or a Nexus or one of these databases of jobs. I appreciate that technology, but I have to learn that. I'd simply prefer to rely on my own ledger, deliver the work, deliver my invoice the way I'm used to it without having to then go online and do all of that, right? But we can't escape that nowadays. That's the way jobs and job databases and workflow are managed. It's okay. I get used to it and I use it. In terms of an unexpected win, I would say that it was a great pleasure to edit a couple of books, a pair of books for Honda Motor Corporation. I think it was in Japan. I don't think it was Honda North America, Honda America. They wanted two books. One was on the first 50 years of the company. And Soichi Honda was a brilliant, innovative man. He was the man who had started this tiny company in a garage fitting electric motors or maybe gas motors, I guess, to bicycles and filling the streets of Tokyo and other cities with these motorized bicycles for couriers to use, etc. They then decided, well, let's make a little motorcycle, the Honda Dream or the Honda Cub. Then he said, I want a car. And not just any car. I want a good car. You are going to live here till you come up with the design. And I want 99.99% reliability, not 99.9%. You have to get that 99%. Don't show up without it. Eventually, they came up with a concept for a robot, Asimo. And Asimo, they knew, should walk. He should function. He should be a humanoid. But he kept falling over. So these members of the engineering team were just absolutely frustrated. Why does Asimo fall over? Why won't he? All our angulations are perfect. So they went and had lunch. And one of them joked and said, it's as if we'd have to put rubber feet on the guy. And they went, that's it. That's it. They put rubber pads on his feet and he could walk. So that was the unexpected win for me doing those books.
Okay, those are, wow. That must have been fascinating to read before you could edit, because those stories take you in and they make you travel. Now, I know that LinkedIn came later in your life and maybe other social media platforms. Has community engagement help you or help your solo business grow um, in the past years?
Yes, it has. Community engagement on LinkedIn specifically, because it's what I use to the exclusion of other things. Community engagement has allowed us to meet and become friends and talk like this.
Yes.
I have met book publishers, book designers, uh, composers, producers, life coaches, music production coaches, sync composers who compose music for TV, movies, etc. Um, uh, Voice actors, voice casting directors, uh, you name it. And I have a group. I host the group copywriters, editors, and creatives on LinkedIn, and we have about 500 members, and they all participate and they all read, and it's fun, it's encouraging, it's a place for positivity. Uh, we set aside politics, we set aside that stress, and use encouragement and mutual education. And that's, for me, that's what it's for. For me, that's how it works. Uh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done.
Okay. I'm one of the 500 lucky ones. And I agree with you. Networking is educational as well. It's a big part uh, of what we get from community engagement. Over the next year or the next years, what was your biggest challenge? And did you overcome it, or how do you plan to overcome it if you haven't done it yet?
Um, yeah. The challenge is to rethink my business, our business. Uh, as I said recently, you have two ways of looking at work, and they are simply if I get a project and it's 30,000 words, and the client says, "Can you do this job? It's 30,000 words." Yes, I can do it. When can it be ready? It'll be ready tomorrow. Oh, wow, great. Right? If I deliver it tomorrow or at the end of today, if I deliver it at noon tomorrow as agreed, what does that do for the client? It does more than simply satisfy their immediate need for that document. It allows them to turn it around and give it to their client, the end client, ahead of schedule, in perfect condition. There's been time for them to come back to me so that I can answer questions or do this or do that. And it allows them to get larger and more frequent assignments from that end client. It allows them to promote themselves as an efficient, effective, professional organization, as a real bona fide company, whether it's one translator working alone or whether it's a larger group with 1,000, a network of 1,000 linguists. It all comes down to being the first and being the best. So that not only that perception works for my client, but it works for us. The challenge for us is to now say, this is what we do. We don't simply process words. We don't simply proof or edit or rewrite or copyright. What we do is to help our clients find the best ways to grow their businesses. So that is what we're working toward now and will continue to work toward.
Absolutely. You just hit the nail on the head. It's one of the key pivots of many language professions today. It's how we find solutions that help our clients grow better or faster or simply grow because they're in a bind or for whatever other reasons. So you hit the nail on the head. And you also, in that example, you also gave your client predictability. And predictability is fundamental to work organization and planning and so on. So absolutely, I want to thank you so much, my friend Larry, for taking the time to address us. It has been a genuine pleasure to speak with you.
It's been fun.
It's been fun indeed. I learned and I made notes and I'm going to apply them to my work. But your career is, as I said, outstanding and exemplary. And I hope that people today made notes while listening to you. So thank you so very much for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I know you and I will speak again soon.
Sure.
But sure, in the meantime, I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you again.
The same to you, my friend Patrice. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Larry. Take good care of yourself.
All right.